so hopefully you can hear everything that's going on. These two young people and their crew are absolutely amazing. They're doing so much to supplement the work that Theo and the rest of the Breonna's Roots gardeners have done. And they're taking original seeds from Breonna's Roots to be able to plant them all around the city. Look at this. So, a tater.
Yeah, a tater. And what's really interesting about
that one from home.
Yeah, what's really interesting about potatoes and other root crops that live in the ground is that once they get access to sunlight, they start seeding out from the eyes. And so if you cut this potato up into different areas, every place that you see a sprout is a new plant. So one potato, one of these, I could cut this about 6 different ways and I can get 6 plants from one potato.
How to feed the West.
And the thing is that if I grew this in my front yard, depending on where I am, then it could be technically illegal because it would be classified as a weed. You know, why are you bringing down the property values in your neighborhood? You need to cut that. Well, why do I need to cut that if one of these could feed my family, if one of these could feed my neighborhood? And if you have neighbors that are growing different crops, eventually you don't have to leave your block to get an entire meal for your week. And so it's just a matter of spreading these ideas that we can be able to start. And so without further ado, I'll show you how to do a little seed saving.
Nice.
All right, so inside any kind of vegetable or fruit, especially if it's ripe, you don't want to try to harvest unripe. That's what you get, really. But the seeds will actually form inside of this little area here in the center. Most of the time when we think about eating peppers, something like that, we're eating the rind. And we just kind of discard the seeds because we don't eat the seeds. What do we do here? But the thing is that the seeds are one of the most important parts because they are the way to grow the same variety of the crop you like. You know, and if you find oh, thank you. And if you find a ripe fruit like this, I don't want to spray anybody. But look, when you open it up, look at how
spray is better than pepper spray.
Right. But look at how many seeds you can grow from just one fruit. And so I'll show you how to save some of these because right now it's a little messy. You know, a lot of times when people think about food, it's like, oh, why would I do that? Thank you, Mariah. I'll put this on the paper.
Okay.
So what I have here is just a normal paper towel. No longer a rarity, which is nice. So what I'm doing, all I'm doing is just rubbing this tomato on the paper towel. And look, I probably have about 20 seeds just from one cherry tomato, right? So all I'm doing is just waiting for these seeds to dry out now because you do not want to store moist seeds because that is the easiest way to get mold. And mold will kill any seed, pretty much. So you want to try to have these as dry as possible, and you also want to make sure that once they dry out, you keep them in a place that does not have access to water, because you don't want these to start germinating in the winter and then get too cold and then, you know, you don't have anything to show for it in spring.
Brown paper bags, Ziploc baggies, and those tiny little Tupperware containers.
Shamika wants to make sure everybody knows we planted that garden on Tupac's birthday.
That's right, June 16th.
And she wrote the Injustice Square, so everybody knows this was a huge effort on the behalf of many, many people.
Absolutely.
Oh, it smells so good.
This is basil.
Everybody smell that.
Whoa, that's strong.
I can smell it from 6 feet away.
Thank you. I love the smell of this.
This is our sniffer, our sniff tester.
Oh,
Salah.
And
it smells so good.
imagine cutting a leaf off of that, putting it into your mask. You know, you got a nice smell all day, right?
That's a great idea.
Jody does it with the lemon balm that we talked about earlier.
I love that idea.
So this basil has already started to flower, and you can see these like red tufts at the top. But I'll just show you a demonstration on, because basil roots really easily. And when I say root, I mean we can take this one plant, I can cut off little snippets of it, and we can actually grow the same plant.
I'll take that one home.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, good job.
Absolutely.
And so when we talk about that, I'll show you what I mean.
Not all plants are from cuttings. Some do and some don't, and I don't know if everyone has other memories of maybe their mom sticking something in the window seal
With toothpicks.
or something to let, you know, the roots grow down, and that is, you know, one of the more traditional ways of rooting, you know. But some of these plants, like Jody's about to show us, who are really good at rooting, don't need all that extra time, and so sometimes you can just put them straight
Right
to the soil.
into the soil.
Sometimes I would say rooting hormone or cinnamon would help with growing roots. But for some plants, as long as you keep them moist and you make sure that you don't have too many leaves, because right now there are no roots on the plant, right? So leaves, this is kind of the way that a plant breathes. And if you don't have roots to drink more water, eventually that plant's going to get dehydrated and then die. So keeping it moist is really important. And all I'm doing is where I took the leaves off, there's a little bump. And where that bump is, that's where those new roots are going to grow. So it's just this little tiny bump right there. And I'm cutting the leaves off so that way it doesn't dehydrate the plant. Because the more leaves you have, the more water gets put out into the air. And so now I'm just going to put it.
Another good reason to take the leaves off is because the plant doesn't quite know where to put all of its energy. So if it has all those leaves and everything on there, it might still think that, oh, you know, I've been separated off the plant, I need to make my leaves bigger, I need to get more sun. But all that's going to do is take away from the energy that they need to put roots into the ground so that they survive through the year. So by taking those leaves off for them and just leaving a little bit on the top, you're telling the plant, hey, you know, it's time to put your energy into rooting. Those basil seeds?
Yeah, these are basil seeds.
Wow.
So one basil plant, look at how many seeds one plant can produce. If we can find plants that can grow in urban neighborhoods that suffer through this urban heat island effect, why do we have to say suffer? But let's turn this into an asset that we can make Louisville one of the incubator sites for an entire new line of research on finding the right varieties of crops that can grow and thrive in the city limits. As we go forward with this, like I want Breonna's roots to be able to be spread throughout the city, and I want this to look back on maybe in 20, 30 years and say, hey, this field of sunflowers in the West End, this has a story, and we're going to tell you that story because it all came from one plant. If we can have that and make Louisville be a center of agriculture again, you know, I just am really excited for it.
Yeah.
You're giving people chills and making people cry. What a great gift. Thank you guys so much.